Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, depending on where you are in the country you're joining us from. I'm Allie Prohl from the eSUB Marketing Department, and we just want to thank you for taking the time to join us on this webinar today. We know this is the busiest time of the year in construction, so we really appreciate your time. We'll try to make this pretty quick and painless. The eSUB community of users continues to grow. Welcome to new customers recently signed on to eSUB in May. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And then we're ready to get started on today's Quick Tips webinar. I want to introduce you all to our presenter, Senior Implementation Specialist, Teague Mays. Teague is from the lovely state of Hawaii and came to San Diego to attend the construction engineering program at SDSU University prior to joining eSUB in 2014. Teague worked as an estimator and project engineer at Dynaelectric, a major electrical contractor in San Diego. Today, Teague will be showing you some recent updates we have made to eSUB to help you out. Teague, I'm happy to hand the floor over to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Allie. Hopefully everybody's able to hear me. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to start our session off today with a quick little poll. I want to get everybody engaged. I want to make sure we're getting feedback from the audience. Our first poll here is going to be a quick little question. How are you currently managing project schedules? We've got 3 answers, either Excel or Outlook, Microsoft Project, or some other tool, or maybe you're currently doing it in eSUB. So we're just looking for some feedback from everybody out there. We'll take a couple minutes to run this poll, and once we've got some feedback coming in, we'll go ahead and take a quick look at those results. All right, perfect. So looking at the results that came in, it looks like we've got about 63% of our users using Excel or Outlook, something along those lines. We've got about 21% who are using Microsoft Project or some sort of dedicated scheduling tool. And then we've got about 16% who look like they're using the eSUB scheduling module. So we're going to take a look at the scheduling module today. First, we're going to take a look at a couple other enhancements. So with that said, we'll go ahead and get our presentation started. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, make sure everybody's able to see that, and then we'll go ahead and get started. The first thing I wanted to cover today are going to be a couple quick updates to eSUB. These are small little enhancements that we've made that we hope are going to make your workflows that much easier. I'm going to go ahead and jump into my Southland Hospital project here. So I'm in my demo account and I'm on my select project page. And I'm just going to jump into the Southland Hospital project. Now the first update we have to look at today has to do with email. In order to send an email in eSUB, you would go to the corresponding log for the document that you want to issue, or you could go to your correspondence log as well. So this new enhancement is going to work for any email that you're sending out of eSUB, whether that be from our correspondence log or from any of our document logs. In order to send an email in eSUB, you use this green envelope icon. So I'll come in here and I'll select this green envelope icon. And the big difference that you're going to see is in the past, we had a bit of a multi-pick list where it would list out quite a few names. One of them would be highlighted in blue. It was a little bit difficult sometimes to see who you were sending emails to, and it wasn't exactly obvious that you had to hold Control or Shift to select multiple recipients. So what you're going to see now is with this update, it's much more intuitive. We can come in here and we can select any of the names that we want to issue this email to. And it's very easy to see who this email is going to go to. If we wanted to remove any names, simply hit the little X, and it would remove those names as well. Now we'll see the same thing for our CC field. So much more intuitive. And as always, you have the ability to type in a CC down there. So the first little update, instead of having a pick list with multiple names and forcing you to use Shift or Control to select multiples, we now have this pick list that's much more intuitive. You'll basically get a list of your contacts and you can select any of those to send the email to. Keep in mind, these are only going to be contacts that have been displayed for this particular project. So as most of you should know, when you're in eSUB, when you're looking at a list of contacts, it's only the contacts that you have set up for the particular project you're in at that time. Perfect. So that's the first little update I wanted to cover. The second update we've got, this is going to have to do with our estimated versus actual with our reporting. So if we come up here to reports, some of you may have noticed that we now have this report called the cost summary. And this is a brand new report to eSUB, and this ties into the cost code updates that we made a few months back. So what we're going to see is we now have this cost summary report, and the idea of the cost summary report is to give us a cost type level breakdown. So in the past, eSUB, we had cost codes, but we didn't have individual cost types per code. Now that every code supports up to 6 cost types, we need a report that reflects that. So the idea of the cost summary is to show you all of your system's phases, all of your cost codes, but also let you break down by cost type. What you're going to see on this cost summary is by default, everything is set to all. So if you're using systems and phases, you would see all. If you're using cost codes, you would see all. If you're using cost types, you would see all. And as I scroll down the page, I see labor. Here, for example, I see my cost code for site work, and this is my labor budget. So what I'm saying here is for site work, I had budgeted $16,000 in labor. Through change orders, I've been granted an additional $360,000, giving me my revised estimate for labor for my site work. Now we can see our actuals off here to the right. As we scroll down, we'll start to see our different cost types. So now I see the same cost code site work, but now I'm looking at my equipment budget. Here you can see I had budgeted $2,600 for equipment. I've used $4,500, putting me $1,900 in the red. So we're breaking down by system phase, by cost code, as well as cost type. And we have the ability to filter by any of those metrics as well. So what I could want, if I wanted to find out more information regarding specifically site work, I could filter by just the cost code for site work. And now what I'm going to see is labor for site work, equipment for site work, materials for site work, etc. Now perhaps I wanted to see just equipment across all codes. I could filter by cost type equipment across all cost codes. And now I'm seeing my equipment costs for demo, site work, and testing. Maybe I want to get very specific and say, just show me my equipment for site work. I have the ability to filter that way as well. So this is a new report, and it has to do with the addition of cost types to cost codes within eSUB. Very, very powerful that we have the ability to not only show what we've budgeted and used for site work, but we can even break that down one step further by saying site work labor, site work equipment, site work materials, subcontractors, overhead, other. So these are your 6 standard cost types. Each cost code can support any combination of these 6. Perfect. All right, so the next thing we want to go into we want to go into a quick demonstration of our Gantt scheduling module. So when we talk about scheduling, there's kind of two different types that we might talk about. We might talk about scheduling our manpower and resources, which would fall under what eSUB calls resource management, or we might talk about scheduling the timeline of our project, which falls under eSUB scheduling. So today we're going to be talking about the timeline of our project. We're going to be talking about the eSUB scheduling module. To access the eSUB scheduling module, you'll want to come up here to navigate scheduling. And if you don't see that, get in contact with us and we'll determine whether or not that's a part of your current subscription. So to come to the scheduling module, we'll go to navigate scheduling. And the first time you ever come to this module, it can take a moment to launch, so be aware. Here we have a sample schedule that I've started to build. And what I'm going to do is take you through some of the basics of this scheduling module. The first thing we see in the scheduling module is the ability to add a new item. And when I add a new item, I have two choices. I can choose whether this item is a task or a milestone. The difference between a task and a milestone is that a task has a duration, whereas a milestone does not. So let's go ahead and let's add a new task. I'm going to call this task rough in, and I'm going to give myself a 8-day duration. I'll go ahead and hit the save button right here. That'll add a new task to my schedule. Now, once we've got some milestones and some tasks added to our schedule, we can start to link these together and define the relationship. We'll be able to say, is it a start-to-start relationship? Can I start these activities simultaneously? We'll be able to say, is it an end-to-start relationship? Does one activity need to be completed before the other can begin? So let's say mobilization and layout can occur simultaneously. We can go ahead and link those together, defining that start-to-start relationship. But let's go ahead and say that there's no way our rough-in can occur until our layout's complete. So what we can do is we can link layout to rough-in as an end-to-start relationship. And what that's going to do is start to push out our critical path. So you'll be able to add all of the items here. You'll be able to add their durations, link the relationship between them, and it'll start to build out your schedule and show you what the minimum amount of time it can be completed in is. Now, we might need the ability to get a little more detailed. We might need the ability to say, well, I've got to mobilize, and that's going to take me 3 days, but what do those 3 days actually consist of? And in order to do that, well, we can actually create subtasks. So if I go ahead and I expand where it says mobilize, you can see that I've actually broken this down into subtasks. And what those subtasks are, well, we need the job site trailer, and then we need our water/power, and we need to stock our materials. Now we can have a detailed view by expanding, or we can have a bigger picture, more generic view by collapsing. If I wanted to add a subtask, as you saw in that example, well then rather than adding the item by hitting this plus button in the upper area, I hit the plus button on the item I want to create a sub-item of. So if I wanted to break up my rough-in by level, well, I can go ahead and hit this plus button. And then I'll go ahead and say for level 1, we've got 3 days. And now I want to do the same thing and say for level 2, we've now got 5 days. And then once again, I can link those together, defining that relationship. Now what you'll see is you're able to change the view. So if I wanted to look at this by month, day, or even hour, I have the ability to do so. We can look at full week or just Monday through Friday. We have the ability to export, and we also have the ability to copy from. So I can copy a schedule from one project to another. Now the last thing we would see here is we've got a little slider. Each one of these activities has a little slider. And what that's going to do is show us either where we are or where we need to be. So in a perfect world, halfway through Thursday the 28th, I should be 84% done with Mobilize and 63% done with Layout. If we wanted to, if we ever messed up with the subtasks, we can always create those after the fact. So let's say I created a level 3 here. But it wasn't currently as a subtask. Well, I can use this indent function up here, and that'll drop it under that task. So this is a quick run through of our eSUB scheduling module. Now, for those of you using something like Microsoft Project, there's probably going to be some more functionality in Microsoft Project that you're not going to see in here. For those of you using Excel or Outlook, this might be a user-friendly solution that gives you a little bit of a leg up. So I'll leave it to you to determine what the best solution for your company is going to be. But the idea of the eSUB scheduling module is it's a standalone tool that allows you a very user-friendly solution in order to create a schedule of your project timeline. We're going to go ahead and move into our last poll question, and then we're going to open it up for question and answer. All right, so it looks like the majority of the votes are coming in, and we're looking at an overwhelming yes, which is good to see. So the question was, did this webinar demonstrate the value of eSUB scheduling module? And we got 94% who said yes, we got 6% who said no, and 0% who said unsure. Call me to set up additional training. So for that 6% who said no, if you want to call us and let us know what we could have done better, we do appreciate that, definitely. We'll give a couple minutes for anybody else to vote, and then we'll go ahead and move into the question and answer portion of this session. All right, cool. So I've got some questions coming in. Nicholas, first question. If I'm building a schedule for the general contractor, can I use this software and print it out so that he can incorporate it into his actual schedule for the whole project? Great question, Nicholas. Yes, definitely so. Say you are a subcontractor. In this example, we use plumbing. So we said we're the plumbers. This is the schedule that we're gonna be using. If we want to build this out and provide it as a PDF to the general contractor, we have the ability to do that. So if I want to export this schedule, I would basically just select the date range. So if my project starts here and ends there, basically select that date range and then just hit export right here, and that would allow you to provide it as a PDF. So if you need to incorporate it in the GC schedule as a PDF, sure. If they're using some sort of scheduling program, then no. So we can provide it as a PDF. It's basically the only format we can export this as. Next question, got one from Matthew coming in. Great question, Matthew. What about breaking in the week? For example, no site work on Saturday or Sunday. When we set up our schedule, if we're not working on weekends, what we would want to do is set it to this weekend, workdays view. And what you're going to see is that skips from the 29th of Friday straight to the 2nd of Monday. So we've got two options. The important part is to have it selected when you build out the schedule, but if we only want work weekdays to be incorporated, we can go ahead and do so. Let's see, how much does this module cost? Bree, we'll make sure to get in touch with you. Can you change the color of the schedule bars, or are they all blue? They're all blue as far as I know. Can we relate multiple job schedules for our work together to see the entire company workflow? Not a feature at the moment, Brian, but I do like that. Let me go ahead and kind of see what the future of the scheduling module might be in that regard, because I think that's a great idea to be able to see multiple schedules at once. Let's go ahead and go through a couple other questions. One of them, can you set up schedule templates? Definitely so. So you'll notice that there's this copy from function, and what this does is allows me to copy a schedule from one project to another. If I wanted to set up projects in eSUB that are just templates for my schedules, that's not a bad idea at all. So I can come in here and I can set up a template for my residential projects versus my commercial, or my educational projects versus my military jobs, something like that. So we can definitely use this copy from to copy a schedule from one project to another. So if you want to set up templates, you'd basically just set it up as an eSUB project. Let's see. The last question I've got coming in, it looks like it's a little, let's see, maybe something to do with the cost summary update. And it says when I add a new project to eSUB, certain cost codes are always displayed, but other cost codes need to be displayed. So why would that be, that when you add a project, certain cost codes are already there, whereas others aren't? I think they were relating that to this cost summary report. Why is my site work always on a new project, whereas maybe my rough-in is not? Well, that's an administrative function. So if you've been setting up projects and you're not sure why some are always selected and others aren't, that's going to come down to this administrative function. And you do need to be an executive administrator to set this up. But basically the way it works is when we set up any cost code in eSUB, we have this ability to say, for new projects, do we want it automatically displayed or do we want it automatically hidden? So if you're running into issues where you're adding projects and you're wondering, why are certain resources there, why are others not there? It's a administrative function, but for each one of these items, we can basically say, is it automatically displayed or automatically hidden on new projects? Looking at our questions, it looks like that's about all the questions we had coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave this session running a couple more minutes. Anybody who has any questions, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, thanks, Teague. Thanks for that great webinar. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Like we said, we know summertime can be really busy for construction. So thanks for taking some time out of your day. If you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the question box. We'll email you back today or tomorrow. Or if you have any questions in general, you're always feel free to reach out to clientsuccess@esub.com. Lastly, we just want to remind you that we have an eSUB Academy training coming up in Kansas City, July 18th. So if you'd like to join us there, our wonderful Teague will be one of the people that will be doing the training in Kansas City, as well as Justin Weatherby, our head of client success. So if you thought this was beneficial, we really hope to see you out there, and you can always get more information from that. So once again, thank you everybody for joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to email us. Thank you so much.